Turn from appearances and feel the naturalness of that perfect perception within yourself. A quality never to be distrusted or doubted. Its understanding will never lead you astray. Your desire is the solution of your problem. As the desire is realized, the problem is dissolved. You cannot force anything outwardly by the mightiest effort of the will. There is only one way you can command the things you want, and that is by assuming the consciousness of the things desired. There is a vast difference between feeling a thing and merely knowing it intellectually. You must accept without reservation the fact that by possessing or feeling a thing in consciousness, you have commanded the reality that causes it to come into existence in concrete form. You must be absolutely convinced of an unbroken connection between the invisible reality and its visible manifestation. Your inner acceptance must become an intense, unalterable conviction which transcends both reason and intellect, renouncing entirely any belief in the reality of the externalization except as a reflection of an inner state of consciousness. When you really understand and believe these things, you will have built up so profound a certainty that nothing can shake you. Again, when you really understand and believe these things, you will have built up so profound a certainty that nothing can shake you. Your desires are the invisible realities which respond only to the commands of God. God commands the invisible to appear by claiming himself to be the thing commanded. Again, your desires are the invisible realities which respond only to the commands of God. God commands the invisible to appear by claiming himself to be the thing commanded. He made himself equal with God and found it not robbery to do the works of God. Phil 2:6. Now let this saying sink deep in your ear. Be conscious of being that which you want to appear. Be conscious of being that which you want to appear. Clairvoyance. Having eyes, see ye not, and having ears, hear ye not. And do ye not remember? Mark 8:18. True clairvoyance rests not in your ability to see things beyond the range of human vision, but rather in your ability to understand that which you see. A financial statement can be seen by anyone, but very few can read a financial statement. The capacity to interpret the statement is the mark of clear seeing or clairvoyance. That every object, both animate and inanimate, is enveloped in a liquid light which moves and pulsates with an energy far more radiant than the objects themselves. No one knows better than the author, but he also knows that the ability to see such auras is not equal to the ability to understand that which one sees in the world around but him. To illustrate this point, here is a story with which the whole world is familiar, yet only the true mystic or clairvoyant has ever really seen it. Synopsis. The story of Dumas, Count of Monte Cristo, is to the mystic and true clairvoyant the biography of every man. Edmond Dantes, a young sailor, finds the captain of his ship dead. Taking command of the ship in the midst of a storm-swept sea, he attempts to steer the ship into a safe anchorage. Commentary. Life itself is a storm-swept sea with which man wrestles as he tries to steer himself into a haven of rest. Two. On Dantes is a secret document which must be given to a man he does not know, but who will make himself known to the young sailor in due time. This document is a plan to set the Emperor Napoleon free from his prison on the Isle of Elba. Commentary. Within every man is the secret plan that will set free the mighty Emperor within himself. 3. As Dantes reaches port, three men, who by their flattery and praise have succeeded in worming their way into the good graces of the present king, fearing any change that would alter their position in the government, have the young mariner arrested and committed to the catacombs. Man is in his attempt to find security in this world is misled by the false lights of greed, vanity, and power. Most men believe that fame, great wealth, or political power would secure them against the storms of life. So they seek to acquire these as the anchors of their life, only to find that in their search for this, they gradually lose the knowledge of their true being. If man places his faith in things other than himself, that in which his faith is placed will in time destroy him, at which time he will be as one imprisoned in confusion and despair. Here in this tomb, Dantes is forgotten and left to rot. Many years pass. Then one day, Dantes, who is by this time a living skeleton, hears a knock on his wall. Answering this knock, he hears the voice of one of the other side of the stone. In response to this voice, Dantes removes the stone and discovers an old priest who has been in prison so long that no one knows the reason for his imprisonment or the length of time he has been there. Commentary. Here, behind these walls of mental darkness, man remains in what appears to be a living death. After years of disappointment, man turns from these false friends and he discovers within himself the Ancient One, his awareness of being, who has been buried since the day he first believed himself to be man and forgot that he was God. The old priest had spent many years digging his way out of this living tomb, only to discover that he had dug his way into Dante's tomb. He then resigns himself to his fate and decides to find his joy and freedom by instructing Dantes in all that he knows concerning the mysteries of life, and to aid him to escape as well. Dantes, at first, is impatient to acquire all this information, but the old priest, with infinite patience garnered through his long imprisonment, shows Dantes how unfit he is to receive this knowledge in his present, unprepared, anxious mind. So with philosophic calm, he slowly reveals to the young man the mysteries of life and time. This revelation is so wonderful that when man first hears it, he wants to acquire it all at once. But he finds that after numberless years spent in the belief of being man, he has so completely forgotten his true identity that he is now incapable of absorbing this memory all at once. He also discovers that he can do so only in proportion to his letting go of all human values and opinions. As Dantes ripens under the old priest's instructions, the old man finds himself living more and more in the consciousness of Dantes. Finally, he imparts his last bit of wisdom to Dantes, making him competent to handle positions of trust. He then tells him of an inexhaustible treasure buried on the Isle of Monte Cristo. As man drops these cherished human values, he absorbs more and more of the light, which is the old priest, until finally he becomes the light and knows himself to be the Ancient One. I am the light of the world. At this revelation, the walls of the catacombs, which separated them from the ocean above, cave in, crushing the old man to death. The guards, discovering the accident, sew the old priest's body into a sack and prepare to cast it out to sea. As they leave to get a stretcher, Dantes removes the body of the old priest and sews himself into the bag. The guards, unaware of this change of bodies, and believing him to be the old man, throws Dantes into the water. The flowing of both blood and water in the death of the old priest is comparable to the flow of blood and water from the side of Jesus as the Roman soldiers pierced him. The phenomenon which always takes place at birth, here symbolizing the birth of a higher consciousness. Dantes frees himself from the sack, goes to the Isle of Monte Cristo, and discovers the buried treasure. Then, armed with this fabulous wealth and this superhuman wisdom, he discards his human identity of Edmond Dantes and assumes the title of the Count of Monte Cristo. Man discovers his awareness of being to be the inexhaustible treasure of the universe. In that day, when man makes this discovery, he dies as man and awakens as God. Yes, Edmond Dantes becomes the Count of Monte Cristo. Man becomes Christ.